My name's Paul Gillis-Smith. I'm a third year Master of Divinity student here at HDS.
My name is Jeffrey Breau. I'm a third year MDiv along with Paul.
I've been working as a research assistant at CSWR since June, working with our various psychedelics and religion projects with Jeffrey here. Co-organizing and co-facilitating the Psychedelic, Sacred, and Subversive Reading and Learning Group.
I'm focused on psychedelic chaplaincy and psychedelic spirituality, and a lot of that is work with the CSWR. Like Paul mentioned, working with him to organize the reading group, Psychedelic, Sacred, and Subversive.
I think what the reading group has done for me for sure is sort of put me in contact with all these different fascinating and delightful people who I would not have met otherwise. It sort of created a social sphere that I would otherwise have never encountered.
To do psychedelic studies justice and to really do it well, you want to have people from all over the university, different disciplines, different ways of thinking, different backgrounds, ages. All of this in the mix helps. I know it helps our reading group feel like we're not just sort of giving the same standard psychedelic history or the same lines. We're really trying, I think, to push the psychedelic studies discourse to be a little bit more expansive.
A number of visiting scholars and postdocs at the CSWR come through.
Folks from the design school, folks from sort of across the university.
A lot of students interested in psychedelic chaplaincy who are from the Div school, which there are just more and more of those students, it seems, every year.
There's a whole range of backgrounds and interests, which as we're engaging these texts and as we're picking the text, we were trying to make sure that we would be accessible to people from all different backgrounds. And what we've been seeing is that as people are coming with these different connections to psychedelics interests, they're approaching the text in unique ways. And that's been leading to fun conversations.
So we have a week on new religious movements,
psychedelic use within different indigenous traditions,
psychedelics and metaphysics,
psychedelic exceptionalism,
psychedelics and healing.
Just to be able to engage these texts with community and to see all of the different perspectives. And I'm just learning so much, and it's allowing me to sort of go out into the world and do my research in just a much more serious and informed and, I don't know, like multifaceted, multi-perspective way.
We intentionally wanted for it to not just be a reading group. The big part of what else we are doing are these field trips, as we're calling them. That is hoping to sort of engage the material that we're reading in this room in a different way. And so these field trips include a walking tour of the psychedelic history of Cambridge, as well as a potential visit to a space where a psilocybin clinical trial is happening in the Boston area.
We also organized last year the first ever, as far as we're aware, first ever interdisciplinary psychedelics conference at Harvard University that was covering all of the research happening at the university in the psychedelic space. And when Paul and I were first thinking of the conference, we were expecting it to maybe just be those like 20 researchers in a room chit-chatting. And turned out to have over 400 people attending, mostly in person. So that was last year's conference. And this year, what we wanted to do is build on that interdisciplinary approach, but really focus in or hone in on the study of psychedelics and religion, or psychedelic spiritualities. So the conference is going to be February 17th of next year, of 2024. We're calling it the Psychedelic Intersections Conference, Cross-Cultural Manifestations of the Sacred. It will be open to speakers, and really will be primarily speakers from outside of the university. And we are planning on having different tracks that are looking at different ways of thinking about, or different communities or cultures that are using psychedelics spiritually. And so some of the tracks are psychedelic spirituality in indigenous traditions, psychedelic spirituality in medicine, psychedelic spirituality and race. And the last track is psychedelic spirituality and the psychedelic underground. I do think one factor that shouldn't be discounted is the center's ongoing commitment to psychedelic studies. And I think the fact that the Psychedelics and Future of Religion series is now in its fourth year and has been generating really rich and rigorous scholarship and conversation around psychedelic studies, scholarship, and religion. I think that the impact of that really shouldn't be discounted. It's a really exciting time to be doing psychedelic studies because it does have the potential to do it right, has the potential to improve a lot of people's lives. For me, that's a through line. And I think for Paul as well, a through line really of our work is how do you do this responsibly? How do you think about psychedelics responsibly and morally and ethically and ultimately care for people with these substances?